My name's Melissa LeMay, and I am an ATP for Rehab.
Okay. And how long have you been with Rehab?
Actually, I started back in 2020, 2021, and then I took a couple months off and went and got my ATP because I originally was the PCR for Winter Haven. So yeah, I took some time off, went and got my ATP, and then came back to the company as an ATP. Issues that cause them to become unstable, weakness in their legs, uncoordination. A lot of times, if you see a patient with MS, you might think that they're under the influence, just because of the way that they're moving. Um, and in reality, it's just, the progression of the condition. It's a neurological issue, and it's kind of like having zaps being sent all over the place, and they're really not going to the place you need them to go. So it is difficult, but there are so many options out there to keep people mobile, and we have some amazing chairs. So regardless of whether you're walking on your feet or you're using your wheels, those chairs help so much for patients. Using wheels as your feet is, I think, better for an MS patient who has progressed to that point, because it prevents chronic fatigue, rebound issues, because people with MS, they get so tired by, say, 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon that it's hard for them to rebound. It's hard for them to get any energy back, and they're pretty much done for the day.
Wow.
So a lot of my patients that I see with MS, I make sure I schedule them in the morning, because usually that's when they're better, and they just decline throughout the day. But a chair keeps them from declining because they're not exerting any effort, especially the power chairs, and that way they can reserve their energy for the social aspect of life. And that's where they get the most benefit, I think. It's huge. I think nobody wants to have somebody wait on them hand and foot. They want to get up and they want to be able to do things for themselves when they want to. And having a chair enables patients, it's a progressive disease. So not all MS patients, start off in a complex chair, because they may start off in a lower chair and then progress up. But having a complex chair allows the patient to, like I said, socially, they can cook for themselves, they can clean their house, they can take showers, and it almost mimics like a Parkinson's sometimes. So having that stability of being in a chair, knowing you're not going to fall, knowing that if you get too tired, you can lean back or you can tilt your chair, is so important for these patients, because I stress the need for vitamin D. That helps with MS so much. And the social aspect of it is, they're going to take their chairs out in the sun. They're going to be with family members, and that helps stave off any depression, which, as we all know, depression hurts. And when it hurts, it can kind of send patients into a flare. I think it's just a combination of everything. The most success that I've gotten with certain patients, now remind you, MS patients come in different stages, because it is progressive. And a lot of times you go into pseudo exacerbations, where you're not actually declining, but other factors take effect, like the weather, the fabric, things like that. But the the one thing that I've noticed on all my patients is definitely tilt and recline, because they fatigue so quickly. And even if you're out, say you're out with friends and family and you're at a park, you're still getting kind of overstimulated physically and mentally. And I've noticed that mentally you have to be super strong, um, or else you will kind of be encompassed by the condition.
Mm,
You'll be laying in bed going, "Oh, I hurt. I don't want to get up." But that's not, as a woman and as a mother, I don't have that option. So I think that benefits me because I'm not in a chair yet. Knock on wood. But it does force you to get up and to do the things and to get active. And activity is a huge thing. Exercise is a huge thing. Taking your medicine and things like that, eating correctly, but definitely in the aspect of a CRT chair, the tilt and recline, and even the elevated leg rests are not, or the articulated foot plate, you know, because a lot of MS patients have spasms in their legs. If they're elevated, they don't spaz as hard or as much. You're also getting some blood flow through, and that helps immensely. The process is definitely very individualistic.
okay.
You have patients who, they know they're progressing quickly, and so they opt to go straight to the CRT chair. They want to be comfortable, especially the older population.
Okay.
They want to be comfortable. They know they've got this condition. It's not going to get better. They just jump to it. And then you have women like me who, if you've suffered falls, as soon as you start suffering falls, I suggest patients to go into a chair. Um, but a lot of just women in general don't want to be seen as handicapped because they're running lives, they're running their household, they're running their businesses. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's a lot of discrimination against the disabled. So, they try to opt out of that. But when I talk to patients like that, I've been told, "Oh, you don't understand." Okay, let's discuss that. So I talk about my condition with not every patient, just the ones that don't, are a little apprehensive. And I just explain, it's a lifelong condition. It can help you in so many other ways than just mobility. Um, and I do use the psychosocial aspect of it all the time because we all know that if you're happy and you've got healthy relationships, then you don't feel physically as bad.
Yeah.
Um, and getting into a chair and being active with your family, going to the parks, going to the gym, that is so important. And so, like you said, there are some patients that start off with just a standard chair, and that's great, but they realize, say, 6 months down the line, they're having exacerbations or they're progressing. And they realize, oh, I should have gotten that CRT chair that Melissa told me to get.
Right.
So we get a call going, "You were so right." Um, but it does help. It's always good to have like a best friend, a spouse, somebody to talk to, because it is when you're first diagnosed, you think it's like a sentence, and it really isn't. You just I'm a firm believer, and this will probably be cut out, that just saying, that everybody can overcome the circumstances that they're in as long as they look at it differently. Um, you know, People may be in a wheelchair, but just think about it. They walk faster than we do. you know,
Huh.
it's like it's the little bits that I have realized. You know, my best friend could be in a wheelchair, and we could be, like I said, going through the parks, and 5 miles later, I'm dying, and she's fine. So it's definitely a mental. In the beginning, it's a mental gymnastic thing, but once you realize that this isn't the end, it's just the beginning, and you just navigate differently through the world. You know, but definitely having somebody to talk to on those days where, you know, I most of my issues happen at night because I exert myself throughout the day. So I go very spastic at night, and I call for my kids, and they come and they get the warm washcloths, they rub my legs, we're sitting there, or I'll wake up tomorrow and my legs won't work for a half hour, and I'll
Oh,
sit
wow.
yeah, I kid you not, and I'll sit there going, you just worked yesterday.
Oh
you
my
know
gosh.
yeah, so it's just a disconnect between what you want to do, your brain wants to do, and your body's just not accepting it. So you just got to sit there for a minute, and you're like, well, are you gonna wake up? Well, as soon as they've had their PT eval and I go out, um, I explain to them how long it's going to take to get their chair. And when I do that, they get excited.
Okay.
And even if you say, oh, it's going to be 4 weeks to get the chair because we have to submit it to the insurance company, wait, things of that nature. I have so many patients cry. At first, I couldn't understand why they were crying until I had my own personal experience with another company. And it took a year to deliver a chair, a year. And when you're talking about patients that aren't mobile and they can't walk and they can't do the things they love, they can't take showers, some of them are paraplegic basically because they can't use their legs. It's not safe. So yeah, it's definitely very important that they talk. Now, Rehab, all of our sales reps, and this is one of the reasons why I'm Rehab till I die. Because, the patients call up, they talk to, the PCRs or, the sales reps, and every person on our staff, and I think we have like 600 or 700 people now, is so compassionate.